Hey everyone, how are we? It's installment number 2. Daniel and Tristan back again from TD Football. So we're just going to have a bit of a chat again about the FPL, Fantasy Premier League. Bit of an update after 3 rounds.
Yes, 3 rounds.
International break, which is never fun for anyone. Gives you time to recoup, but it's not good. You just start and then bang, you got 2 weeks off. So, okay. So we'll kick off with, I was flying high for 2 weeks, and then the third week I made a mistake and benched Salah, thinking that Chelsea would do him easily, and then James gives away a penalty and cost me 10 points. Killing me. But before we get into stats and all that sort of thing, this week's massive because you've got Ronaldo, you've got Lukaku, you've got Varane, you've got all the Brazilians out, which means Liverpool have no goalkeeper, no centre midfielder, and no striker.
Yep.
So that's 3 players, and then United's got no Fred, which is a blessing in disguise. And I think there's a couple of other big boys. I think that aren't.
The big one, I think, for a lot of people would be Rafinha out for Leeds.
Correct, and I think there's another one that's not Brazilian. South America, maybe Argentina or someone that's out as well that they were talking about, which is going to affect people.
Yeah, so you've got Emi Martinez from Aston Villa and Buendia from Aston Villa, and then you've got Romero from Tottenham.
Okay, so Martinez, you think will affect a fair few people. I think he's owned by about 15% of people or something. So
yeah, he's a heavily owned goalkeeper, and with Villa playing Chelsea, I see them getting thumped on the weekend.
So the big thing before we get into anything else is, have you used your wild card yet?
I haven't, and I don't think I will, because I'm pretty happy with where my squad is. And I'm like, if I wanted to wild card, I'd want to take minimum maybe 4 players out of my starting 11, minimum. Yeah. But I mean, if it ain't broke, don't.
That's
right. Don't have to change it. So, it's one of those things. Like, yes, I want to get Ronaldo in this week. The thing is like, I could wild card and use my wild card, get him in now, or I could just take an 8-point hit, move some players on, and bring him in that way. Because later on down the line, I'm probably going to have to either play my wild card or play a hit. So I either play my wild card now, save the hit now, or use my wild card when I need to get more players in, and I can take a hit now. When it's still early days, people are going to drop off eventually after a couple weeks go. So, I'm not too bothered about taking point hits at the start of the season anyway.
Yeah, I know, I agree. I was going to use mine and thought against it, because if you look at the players you want to bring in, like maybe Lukaku or Ronaldo, Varane, these sort of guys, in the next 2 or 3 weeks after this sort of easy week, this week or next week, then they've got hard games. So you're like, well, do I bring them in and use my wild card now to then maybe not be able to use them properly for 3 or 4 weeks? So, and then the word is Ronaldo's only going to get 15 to 20 minutes. That's what I'm hearing anyway.
Yeah, I think a lot of it will rely on when Ollie's team meeting or press conference comes out. If he comes out and says he's starting, he's going to play minimum 60 minutes, then, I mean, we're pretty much all going to be probably forced into that move.
Yeah.
On the contrary, you could say, well, Ronaldo's going to be scoring. Who's going to be feeding him the goals? It could be Bruno. So it might not be a situation where we're just like, yeah, bye, Bruno. Like, you can go now. But, like, it's one of those things where it's a gamble, because if you don't bring Ronaldo in and he scores a double, you're going to be kicking yourself. And then if it's a lose-lose situation, really, if you don't bring him in, but you're gambling on the greatest goal scorer of all time not to score against the team with the highest expected goals against.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the drama I've got with Bruno is he's been terrible. Round 1, brilliant. Past 2 games, he has been terrible. And I'm just concerned that now with another big ego coming in that will take the penalties, that will basically run the team, he won't anymore, like he doesn't. And you see, if you watch enough Portuguese games, he's half the player he's for United.
Yeah.
Because he's not the main player, he's not the penalty taker, he's not the captain, he's none of it. So he's not as influential, he doesn't get as many passes, he doesn't score as many goals, he doesn't have as many assists. So I'm concerned that's going to happen now that Ronaldo's at United as well.
And I guess from an FPL standpoint as well, like obviously he's a brilliant player and whatnot, but if he's not on penalties, he's not on set pieces, for 12 million, you need a player that does both those things. Because for 12 million, you can pick up for 0.5 more, you can get Salah, who's going to take every penalty that Liverpool takes ever. And then, or you could get Harry Kane, who's a bit cheap now, 12.3. He's got 2 good games coming up. You can pick up someone like that, or obviously Ronaldo. You just get more bang for your buck. I see now, like there's Bruno's kind of sat, I think, in more of the without the penalties and assists, penalties and free kicks. He sits more in like for me in. Now he should be like an 8 million choice, like a Torres or a Greenwood or a Jota, that type of player. Where at 12 million, I just can't see why you would keep him.
If you take his penalties and free kicks away, you're taking Jota for nearly half the price. Jota's going to score 10 goals this season. So,
Well, especially with Firmino not being able to play this week, and I don't think he was going to play this week.
No, well, that means Jota's pretty much got 90 minutes. So you're you're probably going to score. You would think he'll score a goal this weekend.
Yeah.
I'm the same. And the whole Bruno Ronaldo thing, for me, the one on the outside that's sort of nagging at me is Lukaku.
Yeah.
If James doesn't get sent off, Lukaku probably scores a goal against Liverpool. So then he's 2 from 2, and they've got an easy game, hard game, easy, hard. It's like they've sort of got, you can't really say I'm not going to take him for a block because they sort of have it put back. And he's I think he's 5 mil cheaper than Ronaldo, or 5 mil cheap, or a dot point or something.
He's only 1 mil cheaper than
1 mil cheaper. But I think Lukaku, the way they play, one target man, play pretty much 90 minutes, wing backs. I think for the value, he's the one that I will probably end up taking over Ronaldo. I think when I wildcard, which will be around roughly, if all goes well, will be around game week 7. I think Chelsea's fixtures from 7 to 14 is not. You cannot. I will probably be tripling my Chelsea players. I'll probably be bringing in 2 Chelsea defenders and Lukaku because. I mean, they keep clean sheets in big games. So the thing is, like, people are concerned, they're versing this team. I mean, they are the champions of Europe. They're not a bad team. They can perform. We're not talking about, like, for instance, like Wolves have a great fixture run now. When they verse hard teams, you want to get them out. Yeah. But with Chelsea, you can take that gamble. I think Chelsea are better than what people give them credit for. I'm not a big Chelsea fan, but
you got to respect what Tuchel's done and.
Defensively, they're rocks now, and then you've got attacking, and we spoke about it in the first one. I think Pulisic, I've got him written down here. I think he's a hidden gem this year. I think he's what is he, 8 million or something, and he scored one game, 8 points, and he's been injured. He's back. I think with the way they play with the wing backs and him getting in close to Lukaku, I think he's going to get big points this season for a guy not worth much. Sure.
Well, and that's the thing with. I mean, the danger that you've got with Tuchel, and Guardiola does the same thing, is they play that roulette game where they swap and change a lot. And Chelsea have, I mean, so much depth at the moment. Like with Saul coming in now in that midfield, like you've just got so many just people coming in and out. You don't know who's going to play. I think, I mean, Pulisic is good. Obviously, the danger. It's similar with the danger with Ferran Torres, which I'm sure we'll speak about in a second, is rotation, especially with European games coming up as well, Champions League and Europa League coming up.
I think for me, the player of the Greenwood's been great, and Laurice has scored heaps, and Alonso and all these guys, and Salah, and they've all been great. But for me, the hidden gem out of every player right now going forward for me is Rhys James when he comes back from suspension. That game, the first game he was outstanding. The second game he was outstanding until he got sent off.
Against Arsenal, against Arsenal, he was just he was doing whatever
he put in 7 crosses in one game as a right wing back. Now, if that continues with Liverpool's defensive structure and how they concede so little goals, you're now putting him in Trent Alexander-Arnold category for points this year, and he's 2 million cheaper or something like that.
Yeah, he's 5.6 at the moment.
Like, please, I know who I'm taking at the moment. Once he gets back from suspension, that is. I think he's a little hidden gem, and I've got him here somewhere. I think he's only owned. Have I not put it down here?
I'll look it up for you.
No, I didn't put it down here. But he's not owned by a lot of people. I know that. He's not up there. So you can get him.
Rhys James, 7.6% at the moment. A lot of that would be affected. A lot of people wouldn't be bringing him in because of the red card, but I could definitely see that number going quite high.
Yeah. So we'll jump straight into it. So right now you've got Hugo Laurice, 27 points, Raya on 17 and Mendy on 17. They're your three best goalies. Laurice is 5.6, Raya is 4.6 and Mendy 6. Tottenham, surprisingly for me, have been defensively got lucky a bit, but they've been pretty good.
Nuno's done pretty well in his first couple of games.
When was the last
pretty average defense looked good? So
when was the last time you had in the top 5 defenders, top 5 goalkeepers, top 5 midfielders, and top 7 strikers? They've got one player in each. That hasn't happened for a long time with Tottenham. So
they're looking good at the moment.
Yeah, looking good. So, I'm not sure if you want to spend $6 million on a goalkeeper for Mendy, and you've missed the 5. You've missed the 5.5 for Laurice because he's now at 5.6.
Yeah.
But the whole Raya thing, I'm thinking Raya's owned by a ridiculous amount. He's owned by 8, nearly 10% of people. But the drama is they got hard games coming up, and he's got good points because he's done that. He saved like 3 in a game and stuff. What happens when they start playing the big boys and he's conceding 3 and 4?
Yeah, it's always the danger with a newly promoted side. They start on a flying start, and that can easily go downhill very quickly. Ray is a very good keeper. I was watching him last season in the championship. Phenomenal keeper.
Yeah, he is.
Like, his distribution is quality. He's great shot stopper. I mean, as a goalkeeper myself, that is literally like he is ideal goalkeeper, like how you want to set yourself up as. And he is. Yeah, he's a phenomenal keeper. And I mean, if you've already got him, you stick with him. But I don't see a reason why you need to go out of your way to bring him in. I think with goalkeeper changes, you have to be in a really luxurious position that your only problem is your goalkeeper, and you can swap him out. But unless you're on a wild card, and then you maybe want to swap him out.
The drama I've got with the goalkeeper is 25% of people, including myself, have Sanchez.
Yeah,
they've been terrible. He's been decent, but he's dropped like 3 crosses that have led to goals. He's had butterfingers. I know he's 4.5, but I don't see how I can keep him going forward because my other keeper's Foster, who's now long-term injury. So I'm probably forced to make a change, but then do I want to spend $6 million on a goalkeeper? I might have to take Raya and hope he gets some good points.
Yeah, the other one that I was thinking about is the new Watford keeper. I think Bouchman or whatever. Yeah, been pretty good for him. Obviously, being Watford keeper, he's gonna come across a lot of shots. So even if he doesn't keep the clean sheet, he'll get save points and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true.
But there's always the danger when and if Foster comes back, which is we're talking long term thinking. Whether they're gonna whether he'll come back in, but for me, I'm probably going to stick with Sanchez just because, I mean, Brighton, the first 3 games have been bad, but I mean, they've shown in throughout their run in the Premier League that they can turn it on. And I think with Sanchez, I think he's a good keeper. He got a cap this week, last weekend for Spain, so maybe you'll get some confidence. He's a good keeper, but I unless I was wildcarding, I'm not even worrying about it, to be honest.
It's a waste of a trade, really.
Correct.
Then you go into defenders, and you've got Alonso on 23, Jansen, Trent on 22 with Reguilon. He's been great for me. I've always thought he's got potential, but at 5.2, and that's gone up to, you could have got him for 5 if you had him. 22 points. He's got the same points as Trent, and he's 2.3 different, which is huge. Then you got James, who I think you've all got to find a spot for eventually. And then the one I mentioned at the start of the year, which I didn't get because of rotation, but he looks solid as a rock now, is Laporte. He's done 20 points, 5.5. He looks like he's going to be a rock.
Only issue, Laporte got injured over
I heard that.
The international break. So
I heard that.
There's also the option now for John Stones at 5 million if you want to go for a City defender.
Because he's probably going to have to play now, yeah. You can't go for
that. You've always got the you've always got the danger that Guardiola could do anything. He'll put Kyle Walker there or something like that. Like you never know. Defenders that I've wanted to mention. I know it's hard to say, but I think with their run, and I know like they really have to turn around. I think I'm definitely looking. I've still got Ben White in my team, and I think Arsenal's next couple games, I don't want to split. I wanted to really go to Kieran Tierney because in all of their games, Kieran Tierney's been excellent.
Yeah,
he's in a terrible team at the moment. And he gets forward. He gets in the box. I think he's got the most shots in the box, if I'm correct, as a defender.
Probably.
And he's involved in like 60% of Arsenal's attacks.
Yeah, he's been good.
So for 4.9 at the moment, he's not a bad shout, especially against Norwich this weekend. I know a lot of people are picking Norwich to beat them, but I think a lot of people are just, having a laugh and stuff like that. But yeah, I definitely...
The battle of the basement. It's the battle of the basement, isn't it? Last versus third last.
Relegation battle this weekend.
Oh, if Arsenal don't beat Norwich,
they're in serious danger.
Arteta's got to go. If you don't beat Norwich this weekend and you're none from 4 and you're last and you've been beaten by a team coming second last, you've probably got to go. Oh, I know it's only 4 games, but I don't see if the players won't pick up against Norwich, you've got issues with
and that's the thing that I'm waiting for. That's the thing I'm waiting for. If they perform against Norwich, then definitely Kieran Tierney's probably an option to go for.
Yeah.
Or you just keep Ben White because I think a lot of people still have Ben White in their team.
Yeah.
So
I had the danger.
The danger is with Ben White is he has to keep a clean sheet to get points. Yeah. Kieran Tierney can pop up for an assist and a goal.
Correct.
Yeah.
So then you pop in the midfield and Salah's killing it with 30 points. Yep. Greenwood and Ben Rama's on 26. Hasn't Ben Rama been? You watch his West Ham games and he's in everything. Yeah. He's in everything.
He is. The third game was a bit disappointing. I think he only had one shot. Right at the end of the game, I was screaming at the TV because Antonio could have literally just slipped him in and it would have been a goal 100%. But he didn't get the pass right. But I think Ben Rama's someone that I'm watching because now West Ham just brought in Vlasic from Dynamo Zagreb, I think.
Yes.
They brought him in. He's a good attacking midfielder. So I think he was the player that did Tottenham, wasn't it?
Yes.
When they were down 3-0. And he was the player that got a hat-trick and ruined Tottenham's Europa League dream.
He's a good player.
He's a good player. So I would be watching that, especially with Europa League coming up for West Ham. I could definitely see Ben Rama's performance dropping a bit, which hurts for me because I missed the start of the train, the Ben Rama train at the first.
Well, he's already gone up. He's the highest rise. He's already gone up 0.4.
Yeah, he's a big rise. But definitely someone that I'm looking at, especially with the next couple of runs, is Adama Traore. I know he's missed a lot of big chances, but Adama is involved in everything that Wolves do at the moment. And I think with Raul Jimenez being a bit tentative with his head injury, which you can't blame him for, Adama's once one goes in the back of the net, he'll start to get a bit of a role. He's just, when you watch him play, he just runs through players. Like
100%. You watch him play and you think you think he should be a FPL point scoring machine. He's always got the ball. He's always beating guys. He's always shooting. Yeah. But the problem is his crossing in the last 6 months has been horrendous. So he can't find the player, and Jimenez won't have a ball at the moment. And then you've got he can't shoot. So them two combined, you're like, well, he does everything leading up to it. You're like, mate, if you can score now, it's bonus point sort of territory. But he just can't. It just doesn't happen.
I think for Wolves and their run of fixtures, I'm definitely looking at Adama. I'm also looking at Trincao on the opposite side, the Portuguese.
Trincao's amazing. He is a talent.
He's an unbelievable player.
His feet are ridiculous.
He's, I think, 5.9 at the moment. Yeah. So, and he's had the most shots for Wolves at the moment. I think in one game he had like.
If they can come good, that front three starts to get points.
Yeah,
they become good as a team. That front three starts to look very good for cheap options to get good points. I agree. So then you go Torres is only 7.1. He's on 23, but as you mentioned, Pep's rotation, you know what's going to happen.
He also played all the games for Spain in the international break. So I would be a bit tentative I'd be a bit worried if you brought him in now, because I could definitely see just Jesus just going in the middle.
And then you've got Bruno on 23, but I think he scored about 18 of them in the first game. And then he scored 1 and 2 or something since then.
Yeah, 1 and 2.
And he now probably doesn't take the pen. So that's a bit of an enigma at 12 mil or whatever it is. Yeah. And then the one I've got and love is Son on 23. He's 10.1. He's killing it for me. The way they're playing, the problem is if he's going to keep winning 1-0, the points will dry up eventually. That's the problem.
Yeah, I think Tottenham, when I was watching them play against Wolves, I think they were they just lacked a bit of edge. Like the crosses weren't going to Harry Kane. They weren't. Their game plan seemed a little bit all over the shop. I think defensively, Nuno's done great, but I think offensively they're still waiting. I think this whole situation with Harry Kane, I think, has probably taken a bit of a hit with their chemistry. They're just not linking the passes together very well.
Agree.
They're just kind of hoofing it into the box and just hoping Harry Kane pops up with something. But
So you go into the front line and you've got Antonio on 40 points, the highest point scorer in the game. He's only at 7.9, but you've missed he's already gone up 0.4 and he's just going to keep going up because I don't see how he stops scoring. He's just a phenomenal.
The only way he stops scoring is if he gets injured. That is it. So,
and then you got Jesus, which I think now he's probably a must too. He's their only striker. And yes, they can put Torres in the middle, but they're only going to put him in there for 10, 20, half an hour and then bring Jesus on anyway or take Jesus off. So you think he's going to get 60 minutes, 66 minutes each game minimum. He's the only out-and-out 9 and he's already got 24 points. He's the, 5th, 6th highest point scorer in the game at the moment. And he can get
Jesus has been playing. Yeah, he's been playing right wing for him recently. So, and he's been doing well there, to be fair. So, I mean, I don't see why Pep would change it, but,
I think he's a must-have for that price. I'll be bringing him in as soon as I can. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I'm a big fan of, and he's now taken all the pens as well. 23 points, 8.2. He's
so happy he took that penalty off Richarlison. I was Richarlison, do not take that.
Richarlison's been average, mate. And then you got Danny Ings on 19. He'll continue to plot away and do his thing and score 6 points one game and then 1 point another game. He's in a team where it seems to be like that. Vardy again, 19 points. He'll end up in the top 3 strikers again at the end of the year, but he's 10.5, so you've got to decide. And Leicester have been average, pretty average. So I don't know. I don't know what you do with that. The biggest rises has been Rama and Antonio on 0.4, and then everyone else is 0.2 or 0.1. So you haven't really missed the boat yet because the 2.4s are only 7.9 and 6.4. So you're talking a 12.5 guy going to 12.9 and it's out of the... So, and Salah hasn't gone up at all. So if you've missed out, you've got to get on now because you've got next week. He's got to...
I think against Leeds, he definitely probably... If I don't have Ronaldo in, it'll be my captain choice.
Yeah, well, they're going to press like they do against United and Liverpool is going to hit him on the break.
Yeah, correct.
He's liable to score a hat-trick. So then you go to points per match. Hugo Laurice is on 9. Varane is on 12. He was, I know I'm a United fan, I got the shirt on, but you talk about all these great, for a guy to come in, I know he's won everything, but for a guy to come in and do, if you watch that game, even if you watch the highlights, he literally does 3 blocks before they shoot inside the box. He does a last man challenge. He assists the goal and he wins about 6 headers. And it's his first game. 65,000 people or whatever it was.
He was great for you guys.
If he can continue that, at his price, he's probably someone I'm going to have to eventually bring in. Laporte, I definitely want to get somehow because they're going to get probably the most clean sheets this year, or Chelsea, one of the two of them, if he can play. Probably. Alonso now, with the way they play, him and James up either side, Alonso's now back in the big points, it looks like.
Yeah. I would I'd rather take Rhys James out of Alonso just
Me
because
too.
now that Koundé didn't go to Chelsea, James really doesn't have any competition down that right side. Whereas Alonso still has Chilwell.
And James is cheaper. James is cheaper too. So, and then you got Mings, who's on 7.5, which is pretty good because I don't think he's that points per game. Now these Jensen and what's the other guy, Pimick or whatever. I don't know. What do you do with these guys? They're cheap as they are earning good points because they're either assisting or scoring or clean sheeting.
Yeah.
Are they enigmas because they've had an easy couple of games? Or
I think it's if you keep them, if you've already got them and you back them, you can keep them. But I just don't see why you would need to bring them in. I mean, it's a serious punt, like bringing them in. They're not proven in the Premier League. They're proven in the Championship, don't get me wrong. And yes, the 3 games that they've played, they've been quite excellent. But, I mean, Brentford haven't conceded a goal yet, but I definitely see that changing pretty soon.
Yeah, and then you got Trent on 7.3. He's just going to keep scoring like he always does. That's what he does. Yeah. Then Salah's 10 points per game. Gallagher's 9 points per game because he scored the double. For Norwich, but that won't happen again for the rest of the year. So that's a bit of an enigma. Greenwood's on 8.7 until Rashford comes back.
Sancho picked up a knock as well. So I'd say Greenwood still starting on that right-hand side. Yeah.
And then you got Ben Rama at 8.7. Pulisic at 8, who I think is I'll be looking to get in soon as I can when they hit those easy games for Chelsea. He's only played 1 game, not 3. But I just think this is his year. I really do. Under this coach and the way they play, I think we'll see the best of him this year. I think the one on the other side is Werner. I think Werner's an enigma, have since day one. I think Pulisic is actually the real deal. He's just taken time. But we'll see. Torres, 7.7 per game. But again, rotation, you don't know. Yeah. Into the front line, you've got Antonio on 13.3, highest in the game. Jesus, 8. Dominic Calvert-Lewin 7.7 with Ings on 6.3. They both take pens, so that helps. And then Vardy on 6.3, who takes the pens as well. So whereas Jesus doesn't, and Antonio doesn't, does he? What's
Antonio took? He did take the penalty.
He did. So
I don't know whether he did miss, but I don't know whether what happens because I don't think he's a lock penalty taker. But I definitely see if he's scoring a lot or if he hasn't scored in a game, I think he'll definitely be like, give me the ball.
Yeah. So. And then you go into your point of differences. So Raya in goals is 8% owned. Laurice is 11.2, Mendy's 11.4, and Sanchez is 24. So if you look at that, again, Ray is appealing because he's only 8%. If they can pick up a couple more clean sheets, there's only 1 in 10 people who've got him. It's not bad, but can they do it? Luke Shaw. Now, I've got him, but most of us have got him 46% owned, second high or third highest in the game, and an absolute enigma when he puts on a red shirt. When he puts a white shirt on for England, beast. He puts a red shirt on. For some reason, can't cross, can't score anymore, can't tackle. He's been, for me, poor for the last 3 games. And at his price and how many people own him, I don't see how I'm going to keep him.
I think one point of difference as well for me that I've been looking at, I know we were talking about Wolves earlier on. I think Nelson Semedo or Connor Cody.
You mentioned both of those first game, Semedo.
Semedo, he's at 2% ownership at the moment. So he's a big one. He's a lock. I mean, come from Barcelona, like, what was it?
If they can hit some good form and get some clean sheets, he's. And then you got Trent. You got Trent Alexander-Arnold, 33%. Diaz is 26%, so maybe he's the other option if Laporte's injured. Simikis is owned by 24%, but he now won't play. He'll get his 6 minutes at the end of each game, like courtesy 6 minutes last game, maybe, if they're winning.
Yeah, he's already gone out of my squad. It was great first 2 weeks, but he's gone.
Duffy, 15%. He's been great and he's cheap. Good. And if he has another season like he did 2 or 3 years ago where he was like third highest defender in the game.
The only issue is with Veltman coming back and Lamparty eventually coming back. Whether he keeps his spot is going to be. Whether he keeps his spot is going to be hard.
Your point of differences are Andy Robertson, only owned by 1.3% of people.
Yep.
Matip only owned by 2.3%, and looks like he's the lock centre back with Vidic. It looks like he's played 3 from 3, and he's got 18
Van
points.
Dijk, not Vidic.
Oh, not Vidic. I wish Vidic was still playing.
Not in Liverpool, isn't it?
Varane's only owned by 4%. Laporte 5%. And then the 2 centre backs for Jensen and Pimenic or whatever, only 6%. So I think Andy Robertson or Matic or Varane are definitely good points of difference at only 3 and 2% owned.
I think someone that we haven't spoken about as well, I think who seems to be back into his old ways is David De Gea. He's been great for you guys. I mean,
he was good.
Literally saved you guys against Wolves.
Problem is we still concede. So
well, the thing is, if you guys start to get some clean sheets and stuff, he's definitely someone. Maybe instead of maybe you're not thinking about Luke Shaw, maybe you want to cash in on those clean sheets. He might be a guy that you want to bring in.
The drama for me is if we haven't kept clean sheets against 3 easy teams and we've got a hard run coming up, that's my problem. Like how you concede against Southampton blows my mind, but
for sure.
So then you go into the front line. Salah 54%, which is huge, but you've got to have him. Bruno 47% at 12.5 million and been terrible for 2 games.
I could definitely see that number drop. I could definitely see that number dropping quite considerably. I think he'll go down. And
that's right now. That's right now. About an hour ago, with people already put Ronaldo in.
The problem with that percentage thing, though, is that it doesn't calculate. I don't think at the moment it doesn't calculate wild cards, so it doesn't show up.
Okay.
People have taken them out in a wild card,
and also probably doesn't include the press conference on Saturday to see if he's playing, where Ronaldo's playing. Benrahma 31%, Son 25%. Now Pulisic is 1% owned.
Yeah,
he's played 1 game and got 8 points, and he's only 8 point something million. Mane's only 3% and he's got 18 points.
Yeah, Mane's
hasn't he played every minute?
Like, he has been playing every minute. The issue that I've seen with Mane is like this season. He might prove me right. I hope he does. For Liverpool's sake. He's just seemed a little bit off recently, but I think if you're looking for, because he's 10 million, I think, he's a bit of a danger pick because I think he's not on penalties. He's not that type of premium player. Whereas for 2.5 you can get Salah, who's he's going to be a pick in every week.
He scored double the amount of points.
Correct. Or for 10 million you go Son, who's going to play every game and proven goal scorer. Not that Mane's not a proven goal scorer, but Son's just in a little bit better form.
And it seems to be now Jota can score where Firmino doesn't. The goals are now a bit more shared, where it was just Mane Salah, and Firmino get 1 every 10 games. You now got 3 guys that can score. So, I agree. Dele Alli's only owned for 4%, and I've had him, and because Kane hasn't taken penalties and that, it's been brilliant. He's only 6.1 million. He scored me heaps of points, but now Kane's back. And last game, he played him not in the front 3. He played him on the left of a free midfield, and he couldn't get forward as much, and it was a bit of a concern for me. If I don't wildcard, I'll hold on to him this week and see if he plays in there again, and if so, I've probably got to get rid of him, to be honest. And then obviously Mendy, you can't pick because he's had dramas with underage people, so you can't pick. If anyone's got him, he's got to go out of your team. And then you've got up front, you've got Antonio, 52% owned, Danny Ings 31%, Lukaku's only owned by 20%, Ronaldo's owned by 20%, Tony, whatever his name is, he's owned by 19%. He's had 1 good game out of 3. That's a lie. He's been brilliant in all 3 games, but he's only scored.
He just hasn't. In FPL point of view, he's only had 1 good game.
Correct. But he's cheap, so maybe you stay with him. The 2 I like, or 3 I like, Callum Wilson.
Yep.
He'll score close to 20 goals again this year, or 18 or 16, whatever he did last year. He's going to do the same.
Got a little bit of an injury concern at the moment, but
he does.
Definitely.
But even in a crap team, he scores 15 to 18 goals every season. He's going to do it again this year, and he's cheap, and he's only owned by 4.5%. St. Maximus is only owned by 5%. And if he doesn't assist, he scores every second week. So that's guaranteed 6 points every second week, if not. And then Jesus is only owned by 7% of people at what price is he? What did I say? 7% of people at 8.6 million.
Yeah.
So, I think there's plenty of bargains to be had, but I think you've got to probably use your wild card to get all these sort of guys in. And do you want to do it now with the hard runs coming up for the better players?
Yeah.
Tottenham, United, and it's either Chelsea or one of the others. They've got a harder run coming up as well. So you're like, well...
Yeah, Chelsea's next 4 games, they play Villa, and then I think they play United, then Tottenham, and then they play... I think then they go on the good run of fixtures. United from after they play, I think it's Villa.
Yep.
From week 7 to 14, United's fixtures are terrible. So I'd definitely be looking.
It's probably what you said. You probably weight your wild card, even if it costs you 4 points this week with 3 trades or 4 trades. Do your trades and then do your wild card after maybe week 6 or 7 when the Chelsea's had their hard games, Tottenham's had their hard games. You know what I mean? You can get rid of United players.
In hindsight and full view, I mean, 4 to 8 points. It's not a big hit to take. I mean, I took a 4-point hit last week, and I think I've dropped 1 position. Like, it's not that big of a deal.
No, because everyone will do it during the year. There's not many people that go through without making a points trade during the year. So that's all I've got. I don't have much else. I think that covers pretty much everything. Your big things, your wild card, and do you or don't you? And I'm not happy with if I'm looking at my team, I've got Ayling and Kufal, Shaw, Sanchez, and Dele Alli has probably got to go. Simicast, I've got 5 or 6 that I've got to get rid of. Ayling for me hasn't been the same player this year. They haven't allowed him to get forward as much into that crossing position.
Leeds just look a bit dodgy defensively as well.
Kufal, they're more than happy to go to the other side and cross from, what's the name? Shaw's been average. Dele Alli's off penalties now and seems to be playing more deeper. And Simicast is gone. So, I still might do the wild card tonight in a fit of, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But there's definitely stuff out there for people if they want to. So there's some really good point of interest out there. Some low ones if you're keen, and you've got to make your mind up.
Yeah. I think the wild card option. I think if you and like people get stressed the first 3 weeks, they don't get great points or whatever straight away. Like there's however many 38 games in a season.
Yeah.
So there's no stress. Like it's a good chance, and normally every FPL season, whenever the international week happens, everyone wild cards that week. Yeah. So you run the risk of if you wild card. You got to make sure that it's worth wild carding for because there's lots of you've got all the way up until I think it's December 20th, which is when your first wild card runs out. So there's always the option as well this week if you want to play the gamble card. There's the free hit option if you want to bring in Ronaldo, Lukaku, and what it does, it changes your squad for 1 game. And then it'll change it back to what it was before. So, it's something that you might want to consider taking, but obviously playing chips early on is always a risk.
Well, for me, you play your gamble card when some team like City's got a double header.
Yeah.
And you can bring in 6 City players or something, or 3, and then 3 someone else. And same as your triple captain, you do the same.
Correct.
So I'll hold out with them. And, I don't know if I'll fall in with everyone else with the wild card. I've got the Southampton striker worth 4.5 million that's now injured and hasn't touched the football all season, so I've got to get rid of him too.
Oh yeah, he's been moved on to Swansea.
Gotta go.
Yeah,
so it's but we'll see. Thanks for joining us. Good luck, and we'll see what happens this weekend.
Too easy.
See you, mate.
See ya.